Look at those notes that I wrote down on the prelude to this lesson, because it will show you the exact placement of lines on the human face and how to go about dividing your page into different sections to make sure that the proportions of the human face are correct. So basically what I was talking about when I asked about this assignment is I wanted people to work from a portrait, a wallet-size photograph or any size photograph that you have of someone in your family. It could even be a self-portrait of yourself. And the reason I wanted to do that is it's often easier to do the human face from a photograph. The lighting won't change on you, and it's already pre-planned. It's not an easy subject to do. You may find this the most challenging of all of the assignments in this course. I want a 3/4 sketch, which means it should be about from the waist up, and to most wallet-sized photographs or portraits that have been professionally taken, you're going to get a modeled background, which means it may be a little bit blurry or multicolored, and the portrait's probably going to be slightly twisted like this, sitting towards the camera, because photographers are actually trained to bring your head in an exact direction and sometimes even tilted just the way they want to see it on their camera. So working from a photograph will give you a very nice composition indeed, which is another benefit. A lot of famous artists we've looked at this term have used them anyway. So to do the face, I'm going to just do the face on this page so that when you look at it, you're going to see more than if I did a 3/4 portrait and a little head on this page because it's so small. But on yours, you do the 3/4 pose. You're going to start any face with an oval head shape. Why an oval shape? Because some people have wider faces and some people have narrower ones. Well, basically a human face is an oval shape. And if they have a fuller face, you can add to that down the road. It'll just be a light line for now. Your neckline is going to be fairly long. You need to really look at the human face and decide where does the neck go in proportion to the head. You're going to need some lines as a guide. You start with a central line, which will be invisible when your sketch is done, but to start out, it will put you in the right placement of where your eyes go. Because a lot of people, when they're doing a head sketch, will, place the eyes too high without remembering there's hair on that third of the head. And that's where you're going to space that. You're going to have another line for the nose and another line for the mouth. And as I said, the notes in the classroom online are going to help you lay that out perfectly. And you're going to think about, if I study this photograph, how much space is between the side of the head and where the eye starts? How much room is there between this eye and this eye? How long is the nose? You have to look at the photograph, not just draw from your head, especially if you want it to resemble anything that's in front of you at all. So you're going to look at your photograph and sketch what you see. And you can do some almond-shaped eyes to begin with. And the more you add detail, the more this shape might change. You can always erase a pencil line, so don't be afraid of that. When it comes to the nose, a lot of people tend to overdraw the nose when they haven't used the nose before. So what I always suggest is start with a little curvature at the eyes, because the bridge of the nose is often wider than the tip up here, and that will give you a guideline of, say, where about the bridge would go. But you don't necessarily want to draw the bridge. You might draw down one side, but probably not on both sides. When your paint goes on, what you tend to do is put a shadow with your paint on one side so that you can see this is a raised edge without, drawing it as a solid hard edge. And then the tip of the nose you will want to accent, so you need to think, well, how wide is that in relationship to the rest of the face? Because proportion is everything. So draw it sort of curvature and however wide it is in this person. And there's always going to be some shadowy areas where the nostril goes in. And right at the bottom of that nose, you're going to need to show an indent where lips go. And to do that, it's easiest to use your paint when you get to that stage to shade in one side and the other side. And that will show that that's a surface that can change in proportion to the rest of the face. Lip shapes are so many different sizes that you're going to have to really study your photograph to see, are they thin lips, are they thick lips? Is the smile an open smile showing teeth? Is it a closed smile? Is it a grimace? What's the expression there? But basically it'll look something like this. There may be a little bit of a linear line below the lip, and then another where the chin begins, which you can represent here. You can add some more shaping now into your head, and it's easiest to tip your pencil to one side as you're going. You might want to accent high cheekbones, low cheekbones. Is there a line where the person smiles? Usually you'll see some type of line right at the nose, right down to where the lip joins the line. And these are details that you can add as you go. When you draw in the detail on your eyes, look at your eyes up close in the mirror before you even finish the portrait. Because even if you're not portrait painting yourself, you will see the different parts of your eye. There's going to be an eyelid. There's going to be a little part inside the lining of your eye in the bottom. There's eyelashes, which are all very detailed. Oftentimes I will not do, a separated eyelid so much that they join in one area, so you can just clump them and represent them a little bit. You definitely need to show how much of the eye is showing, because oftentimes a person's eye is somewhat covered a little bit by the eyelid on top. So how much is showing? How large is the pupil? Are the pupils the same size? Because it will look really strange in your picture if the eyes are two different sizes. So you need balance, and that's a symmetrical balance. And you're going to need the iris and the eye with the pupil. And when you do the pupil, a trick is to leave one little dot as white and one little dot as gray and behind. It will give it a lifelike appearance, and that's for the painted portion. But you can draw it in for now so you don't forget to do that. There's going to be eyebrows. And if you draw in eyebrows, what shape are this person's eyebrows? It's details like that that will make this look like the photograph you're drawing, And if you're doing it all from your head, it's not necessarily going to look like that photograph. So look at the photograph and then draw what you see. Look back at the photograph that you're painting from, because when you don't do that, it will lack the detail, that it won't represent the person you want it to. So you're going to fill in that. Oftentimes you're going to have the ear showing, and sometimes it might be covered with hair. It's up to you, because you're basing it on a photograph whether you want to show it or not. But if you do, keep in mind that it's generally above the line where the eye is by a little bit, and then the tip might touch the bottom line, depending on the size of the human you're doing. And there's always going to be a shaded area in there somewhere, and you can add the details with your paint when you get to it. I've also posted how to paint skin tone in your notes, and you're going to want to look at that so you can see how to mix those colors together. And then there's going to be hairline, and your hairline will come down onto the skeleton. It isn't just on top of your head, it's actually part of the skeleton of the head. And that's why a lot of people have trouble when they do their portraits. Now, when you do your painting, what I'd like to suggest is paint this as one solid mass. Don't paint it as individual hairs right off the bat. Block in the whole color when you add your paint so that this is all one solid mass. And then what you would do is choose an area that's being highlighted with a light source and a second tone that's close to that color as a darkened shadowed area. Because when you look at hair color, even if a person's got black hair or blonde hair or brown hair, there are usually variations in tone, so that you have light area and dark area, and the whole way the light's hitting you, especially if this photograph you're working from has been professionally taken, because they're going to have lights hitting in different directions that will create that effect, and that's why it will be great if you could use the photograph. So once you get all of that stylistic device in, and if it's long hair, maybe it hangs down. However it's cut, that's quite up to you. It could come in front of the face somewhat, because this was just a rough sketch, so it's all still going to be adjusted. Maybe your initial line on your neck wasn't right, so go in now and put it where you need it to. Maybe there's shadow that's going to be underneath that chin, because a lot of times that's how you can show that one area comes forward and another area recedes. And it's okay to just rough it in your sketch so that when you go to do the painting on canvas, you know exactly where you're playing different shadows and different highlighted areas. Even the side of the cheek will usually have a place that goes down and a place that rises up, and so you can show that when you go to do the painting. So just put some detail in it, follow those notes, and you should just be having a great time. When it comes to the clothing, you can do some light and dark shadows areas, and that will create a rippling effect where the light hits an item of clothing and it creates a fold. That's how you'll create that illusion. So have some fun with it and choose a portrait of one person only, and then post it for self-assessment, peer assessment, and group critique. Thanks. So I just wanted to show you one of the grade 9 students' work. This was a painting, their first time doing a portrait, and so I consider this a level 4. It has the rippling effect in the clothing I was talking about. You can see the tinted face and also the attempt to shadow the face. The eyes are about halfway down the oval, which is perfect, and he's followed the line of where to place the eyes, nose, and mouth, and there's an attempt at hair and ears and some nice color choices and line used. The background can be just as simple as that. It's a very Baroque idea to use this sepia tone color that you see here. But a modeled background is typical in a lot of historic portraits, and you're welcome to do that effect.